Hi guys, welcome to this video. This is a tactical video for the Sisters of Battle in Shadow War Armageddon, as there, and if you just saw my last video, that was about Shadow War in general. It's kind of a review of the system, very fun. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about some tactics for the Sisters of Battle in this game. And straight off the bat, Sisters, overall impression, Sisters are actually kind of powerful here. If anything, they might be slightly too powerful overall compared to some of the other factions. There's going to be situations they're in where they'll struggle, but there is actually a lot of good stuff here. So if you are running Sisters or you want to run a Sisters kill team, then hopefully this video will help. So right off the bat, here's what you can take. You've got the Sister Superior as your leader. She's got access to most of the cool hand-to-hand stuff and special weapons. Special, I mean, well, yeah, she's got access to special. You've got Battle Sister, who's your basic trooper. You've got your new recruit, which is a novitiate. And then you've got your gunner, which is basically your heavy weapon, that kind of thing. Now, straight off the bat, a novitiate is 80 points compared to Battle Sister's 90, so it's 10 points cheaper. What you do get from that is -1 ballistic skill. And honestly, for that points difference in this game, where small amounts of points don't matter quite so much, I would actually just say go for the Battle Sister, because that extra ballistic skill is going to make a huge difference for a lot of the things you can take. Now, it'd be different if you could give a novitiate like particularly good close combat weapons. You can give her some decent stuff, because she's the same weapon skill and that kind of thing. So if you did take novitiates, I'd say give them a bolt pistol, give them a chainsword or something, if they can actually take a chainsword. No, they can't take a chainsword, ignore me. So they can only take the combat blade. So in that case, I'd say take 2 combat blades, take a bolt pistol, run her forward, and get her stuck in, and there you go. Because it's the same weapon skill, where she's got no negatives, and then when she levels up you can give her a bolt gun or something like that. But I would actually suggest, for the most part, just take a regular Battle Sister instead, because that 10 points, it's not worth it. Having gunners is good. You've got a couple of options here. You could take a heavy weapon of a multi-melter or a heavy bolter. The multi-melter is only 10 points more, but as you'll see, in the early games especially of Shadow War, you are generally better off taking something with multiple shots that's a slightly lower strength, so the heavy bolter, than a single shot thing that's a super high strength, because you'll actually do more damage with multiple shots for the most part. So yeah, that's pretty good. So what I'm going to suggest is what you should be looking for each one of these. So I've already mentioned the novitiate. Kind of go close combat, just because the weapon skill's the same, and defensively she's exactly the same as well. So there's no negatives there. And what I would do is run her alongside a Sister Superior who's also built for close combat, and they can kind of support each other. Or if you wanted, you could keep the novitiate back and protect your gunners. But for the Sister Superior especially, a very good combination is chainsword and bolt pistol. And the reason for this is because she's got shooting attack with her ballistic skill 4 still, but her weapon skill 4, it takes more advantage of that, and she's got 2 attacks base. So because that would give her 2 close combat weapons, she will have 3 attacks instead of 2, which is actually really good. She's initiative 4, which really helps as well. And she's leadership 9, should that ever come up, people dying near her in close combat. And she's got that power armor still. Because she's got the bolt pistol and the chainsword, that means all of her attacks would have the same strength and same profile. So all of your attacks would be strength 4. All of them would have the -1 to AP, which is really nice in close combat, so you can actually rain a lot of attacks in it, and she's actually very good at it, and that's pretty cheap. That's 225 points for that setup. Keep her combat blade that she starts with, because then if the bolt pistol does run out of ammo before you're in close combat, you still have 2 extra attack. Some of them will be at strength 3, but it's still pretty good. So yeah, she's really good. Having said that, I wouldn't pick her initially for the advances unless you get extra advances, because they would be better spent on the gunner in my opinion, but we'll come to that in a bit. Okay, so for your regular Battle Sister troopers, they start with combat blade and power armor, same as everyone else. And it's your typical Sister of Battle stat line, so just the 1 attack, 3 initiative, strength and toughness 3, the weapon skill 3 instead of 4. Still not terrible in close combat. I would suggest, if you can, giving them a second combat blade so they get 2 attacks as well, because having more attacks is awesome in this because it gives you more chances to roll high. Whoever has the most attacks usually does better, unless you roll terribly and roll loads of 1s, which is possible, but you know, generally speaking, you want at least 2 attacks if you can get it, so it's very, very helpful. But I would say go with a bolter on these. Basic weapon, it's a bolt gun, it's 35 points, it's very nice, strength 4, you know, AP -1, and you get your +1 at short range, and it's a decent ranged weapon. Now, what you can do here, and what I would suggest if you have the points, is going for a red dot laser sight. I'll explain why later, but it's very good. If you wanted, you could take a telescopic sight as well. I wouldn't bother with a weapon reload. Honestly, even in Necromunda, where ammo rolls were failed a lot more often, it generally wasn't worth it. You just, if a weapon ran out of ammo, you would generally just start going into close combat, or if for some reason they had no close combat ability, which is a mistake, then you could just run and hide with them and hopefully survive the mission. But yeah, I would say don't bother with that because it's actually quite expensive. The other thing a Battle Sister can do is take the Simulacrum Imperialis, and it's 50 points, it'll encumber the model, and it's quite a lot. I would actually suggest not doing this, at least to start with your kill team when building it. If I was going to do this, I would start adding it in when you start to get to your maximum size of your kill team. So I would say your 7th model that you add to your kill team should be one designed to take the Simulacrum, if you want it. Okay, I wouldn't say it's that good. Now, what a Simulacrum does is it lets you use Light of the Emperor a second time, which is this rule right here. So once per mission at the beginning of your shooting phase or the hand-to-hand phase, you can use this ability. When you do, you can re-roll all hit rolls of 1 and all attack rolls of 1 for all members of the kill team for the duration of the phase. So that's very good at a crucial time. So say there's a particularly tough combatant you need to take down in assault, you can put in your superior, you can put in your novitiate who's designed for close combat, re-roll any ones. That will really freaking help. And that's going to cause some troubles. And again, re-rolling ones and shooting, if you're sitting back, that kind of thing, and you need to take out a lot of people, that could be huge, especially as you'll see. So if you're doing it twice a turn, it's pretty good. Twice in a game would be very good. But honestly, I think once in a game is plenty, at least to begin with. And because of the power you can put into this kill team, I don't think it's actually necessary to use that rule at all. But you know, it's pretty good. So the other thing is that a novitiate we've already covered, but otherwise Battle Sister I'd keep like that. So I'd do that, give her a red dot sight, give her the Baltica, excuse me. So for the gunner, I would start with 1, because they're 100 points, and it's an easy 100 point upgrade to get another one if you wanted. But you might want to start with more than 1 and swap their equipment around afterwards. But what I did was started with a heavy bolter, and I think it's a very good option. You could give her a storm bolter, but meh, not really worth it. It's cheaper, but if you're going for something special on her, you want to go for something like properly special. So heavy bolter or multi-melter, I would highly recommend the heavy bolter. Okay, why the heavy bolter is good is because it is strength 5 and it's 2 sustained fire dice, so that's 2d3 is the number of shots, and you can do it all the time. It's very likely to pass all its ammo rolls. and it's got very decent range. Okay, now if you give this the telescopic sight, it increases the range by an amount of its short range. It's 20 inches, so you have a 60-inch range heavy bolter, and that is going to be most of a board in Shadow War Kill Team. So, you know, you're going to be able to shoot basically anywhere. And if you give her a red dot sight as well, and I'm finally going to cover what a red dot sight is because it's really good. Okay, so a red dot sight gives you +1 to hit. If you shoot someone who's facing you in their 90-degree arc, so that arc there, if you're shooting at someone who's facing you, they have a chance to see that red dot and react to it before you fire, and they get a 6-up invuln save. Now a heavy bolter has a -2 to its AP anyway, so in a lot of cases with 4-up saves, you know, 3-up saves, that kind of thing, their armor's going to be better anyway. So honestly, it doesn't really matter about this 6-up save. It's not a +1, it's just a 6-up invuln, so if they had an invuln save it doesn't make it better. That's actually really good, especially for the amount of shots you have, and because it's sustained fire you can spread it out amongst groups who are close. That is actually really, really nice. So what I would suggest is take that and the telescopic sight, and suddenly the heavy bolter is a beast. It's a real headache to deal with, especially if you just park her up somewhere high, where she's quite protected and she's got good view of the land. She's going to be hitting on 2s on every single shot, and if you use like the Emperor, she's re-rolling that as well. Obviously if they're in cover it'll be slightly harder to hit them, but there's so many shots coming out, it's really, really effective. So I would do that, and with any points left over I'd give the red dot sights to these, because then they're hitting on 2s as well. For your advance I'd go for the gunner, and you'd ideally be trying to increase ballistic skill even more, get any shooty abilities, that kind of thing, or just generally make her tougher or stronger, that kind of thing, because you want her to survive. She is your key linchpin in this setup. Okay, your Sister Superior and your Novitiates, if you have them, are your close combat, so you can keep a Novitiate nearby, help her if she gets pinned, because she can do the initiative test, and then she can also get into assault if anyone gets too close. You know, hold them off, maybe even take them down, or at least provide a bonus. The others are just going to walk together in teams, basically, stay fairly close by and just shoot, with usually hitting on 2s. If anyone's in the open, you could go in Overwatch and you're hitting them on 3s. That's really, really strong. You know, you can hit them as soon as they're in the open. So you've got really good odds of hitting here, especially if you used like the Emperor if you needed to. Okay, and the Sister Superior can go with them, and again, any close combat. So you kind of putting them into 2 separate squads. One that sits back and has some counter assault, and one that goes forward and deals with the mission. And because they're supporting each other, they should do okay. Now on top of that, Sisters of Battle all have a 6-up invuln, which is really nice, so you've always got some kind of 6-up save, which is a nice benefit. Although for the most part, their power armor save will be in use, and this is what makes them so strong, because they're actually quite cheap, only 90 points for basic Battle Sister. But having that power armor makes a huge freaking difference, because power armor is very rare in this game, or anything better than it. It's actually very hard to get hold of, and it's usually specialists that have it. So having it on your basic troops is very, very strong. I mean, yes, Chaos Space Marines can do that too, and they are tougher, but Sisters can easily shoot as well as they can, that kind of thing. So it's actually very effective. And they'll have less models because they cost more. So, yeah, very good. I'd say after you've got your basic kill team dealt with and you've improved the shooting and that stuff, especially in the heavy bolter, I would look at getting some frag grenades for the Sister Superior, that kind of thing. Just so she's got a few more options if her weapon runs out. And you could, if you want to, you can improve all of them in the same way. I wouldn't go for a plasma pistol on Sister Superior, and the reason is because you have to fire it at the charge shot for it to be particularly special, and it's a single shot thing again, and high strength single shot does not really do that much in Necromunda games, because you're more likely to miss, that kind of thing. So generally speaking, position the camera again. Generally speaking, you'd be firing on low power mode, and especially because if you use a weapon in assault, plasma pistol in particular, and according to the FAQ, you have to use the lower charge system, you can't use the high charge, which means it's the exact same stats as a bolt pistol anyway, less reliable, and, you know, 25 points extra. It's like double the cost. So go for a bolt pistol, especially because you'll find on the Sister Superior she probably won't be shooting that much anyway, because most of the time when she's going to be in range, she's also going to be in range to charge, and that's what she wants to be doing. So yeah, it's probably not going to come out that much. So that's what I would suggest there. Now, for the specialists, here we are. Specialists, so you've got 3 specialists. You have your Sister Repentia, you have your Celestian, and your Seraphim. Fun as the Repentia is, she's kind of reliant on that Light of the Emperor to get her free up invuln. Otherwise she doesn't have a save, which isn't too bad, and she can hide, but she's not going to affect the game immediately. She's going to be a threat, but she can actually get killed in close combat by anyone who's got a decent amount of close combat punch. So she can actually go down fairly easily with her initiative 3 and weapon skill 4. It's not amazing for 2 attacks. Okay, she is really good, but you have to target the right kind of people with her, so she'd have to hide and stuff. It's a very slow burn, and that relies on the rest of your team playing defensively, trying to hide, that kind of thing, trying to outlast the mission, because if they bottle out before she even gets a chance to do anything, then, you know, she's kind of wasted. So I'd say she's the hardest one to use. Very specific. If you didn't have a novitiate or anything to protect your backlines, and your opponent's very good at getting to your backlines, maybe they're Gene Stealer cults, that kind of thing, Repentia, a very good option in that sense. Can protect the heavy bolter. Sorry, my cat's going crazy. So next one is the Celestian, and unlike 40k, Celestians are amazing in this, and the reason being is because they can immediately swap their weapons for heavy flamer, heavy bolter, or multi-melter for the cost of 1 Promethean barrel. There's your heavy bolter again, so you can have 2 of these. Same stats as a regular sister, except she's initiative 4, +1 leadership, +1 attack, +1 weapon skill, so she can even hold her own in close combat as well. The Light of the Emperor helps if she is in combat and she charged, but honestly you're probably not going to care about that with the Celestian in this case. So she'll be less accurate shooting than your red dot sight, but having 2 it's actually really amazing. So she's a good backup. If for some reason your heavy bolter's not there, maybe she's missed the game or whatever, take a Celestian, do the same role. She can more or less handle herself anyway, so very good. Probably the best one here is the Seraphim. Straight off she can re-roll failed invulnerable save, so she gets a 6-up save. She gets to re-roll it just as in 40k. Her Light of the Emperor lets her re-roll to wound, which is really freaking good. Okay, still good stats, weapon skill 4, which is nice. Just the 1 attack, but she has 2 pistols, so 2 attacks basically, as long as she doesn't run out of ammo on them. And she can swap her 2 bolt pistols for 2 hand flamers or 2 inferno pistols. Based on the rules for them, I would suggest going for the inferno pistols rather than the hand flamers, or just keeping the bolt pistols. Bolt pistols are perfectly good, and she can fire both of them, so that is actually really nice. But the key thing about her is because she's got a jump pack, she can move over terrain without hindrance, and her basic move is 8, so that means she can run 16 inches, and that is pretty huge in this game because she can just fly straight up on top of things, that kind of thing. She can get where she needs to be really quickly. So the trick to her is, don't send her in immediately. Okay, get her into a decent position so where she can be safe. Then what you do is you angle your the rest of your kill team into the best positions to protect her where she's going to go, and then fly her up. So she'll fly up there, she'll be right in their face, and at that point you've got the rest of your kill team covering, so you can put her in a place where she's nearby, she's still protected, but they have to deal with her, and if they come out to deal with her, you can shoot her you can shoot the enemy on Overwatch and that kind of thing as they expose themselves. So very, very useful, because speed is huge in these Necromunda games, and having such fast movement is really, really good. So that would be my overall tactics for using those. As for your basic missions, I've already said splitting into 2 groups. Positioning, the gunner wants to be somewhere high, and preferably protected by railings on the edge. So you don't want to right on the edge of a platform, because she might fall off, because we can't take clip harnesses on sisters. So there's a good chance to fall off, and their initiative's quite low. So what you want to do is make sure she's somewhere with a railing where she won't fall off if she gets pinned, that kind of thing. And that's what's so good about the heavy bolter, because even if you don't wound them, and even if you've got a red dot sight with that 6-up invuln, you know, if you hit them, they're pinned, okay? So if you pin everyone nearby them and they're not like Space Marines or something, they're down, they miss that turn, because there's no one there to help them up. And that is really, really good. So it's a really good tactic to use, is just try and hit everyone, spread out the shots, and then, you know, put them all down. And so where you put your heavy bolter is very, very crucial, because you want a good lay of the land, and you want your facing to be correct, because then you can go on Overwatch if there's no good targets, and then it's a constant threat. They'll really want to deal with that heavy bolter, so they might send in the close combaters, and that's where your novitiate comes in, or maybe your repentia or whatever. Maybe even your sister superior if you want to play super defensive. Just hang back, protect the heavy bolter with her, and then you can have your battle sisters with their decent range. Give them telescopic sights as well, and suddenly they've got super long range weapons too. They're all hitting on 2s if they're in the open, that kind of thing. It's really nasty, you know. They're very hard to deal with as sisters. So yeah, there's actually some good rules here. My advice for expanding your kill team would be, if you get more than 1 Promethean cache per turn, go for a specialist. Otherwise I wouldn't. Or if there's a specific thing you know what the next mission's going to be, and you know one of these will particularly help you achieve it, for instance, freeing a captive, Seraphim's a good option there, because she's so fast she can get in there. But yeah, that's an option. But otherwise I'd say spend it on your team, spend that Promethean barrel at least to begin with, to fill out your team to the full amount. Less likely to bottle in that case, which will help later on. But I'd only go to 7 regular people, and then you've got room for every single specialist if you need it. You could go higher than that, but I'd say ideally you'd have 2 gunners, probably both with heavy bolters, and then if you took a Celestian you could give it a heavy flamer or something like that. Sister Superior eventually would probably want some kind of combi weapon. On top of that she'd want the, some kind of pistol. If that was the bolt pistol, then that's fine. And give them grenades and that kind of thing. Just fill them out, you know, make them as good as possible, because they're going to have more options. There's always going to be something they can do in that situation, but always focus on the close combat first, because close combat defense is crucial. For the Sister Superior, I would definitely not bother with a power sword to begin with. Power Bowl is actually fairly decent, because you're more likely to wound. But I'd say the chainsword is perfectly fine for a long time, until you're starting to get to the point where you've got credits to literally spend or whatever. Then you can start swapping around the weapons a bit. But yeah, that is what I would suggest. And after that, then you can start saving up your Prometheum. So to begin with, just go for strengthening your team so you can consistently win, and then begin strengthening your team. Because unlike the older versions of Necromunda, Shadow War, actually there's not many balancing mechanics, and the idea is that as soon as one person gets in front, like their kill team's stronger than the others, they're probably going to stay there unless something goes catastrophically wrong. they've got very good odds of just staying in front of it and taking a huge lead and just running off of it. And that didn't used to happen in Necromunda and stuff. There was a lot more balancing mechanics, but not so here. So definitely go for strengthening your kill team first, and you'll find that you'll be more successful, and then you can get the premium later on. So that is my advice for the Sisters of Battle. Hopefully it was helpful, and I got across what I was trying to. But yes, if you haven't played it yet, then go ahead and play it. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. And yeah, I will see you next time. So any questions, leave them below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.